Hi everyone, we're in the vineyard again today and it's now the middle to end of August and we're finding that all the vines, or a lot of the vines anyway, are growing really nicely, really strongly, and this is where it's a good idea just to talk about catch wires and also just leaf management, I suppose. Okay, just to demonstrate what we're trying to do with this vertical leaf system, as it were, behind me is a vine that shows hopefully all the promising signs of giving the perfect shape, as it were. So if I just spin you around here. Okay, this vine here, you've got the main line coming up, which splits into two, one side and then the other side. And then from these shoots which are going acrossways, you've got all these sort of nice vertical prongs, I suppose, sort of shoots that come off from the main shooting line here. So that's going up and up and up, up like that. And you're trying to keep these as vertical as possible to keeping them inside the trellis lines here. So that will give you your nice leaf wall. You'll quickly find that these quickly go out of control. Now, I don't know if you remember in one of my earlier videos, I talked about putting in the catch wires at the end. These are the two sets of parallel wires held on chains so that you can undo them. And these wires are fairly slack and they can actually be taken off the post altogether and brought down to the ground to scoop up all the leaves and help, so that you're holding the foliage into a kind of wall. Well, that's exactly what we've done here, except the only thing I found is that it's much easier if you're in the vineyard on a fairly regular basis. It's just to walk down each row, and then just sort of, if you've got a straggly branch or vine or whatever, is just to pick it up and scoop it inside the catch wires here. So you'll find that, let's see if we can find one here, for example. This one here, a little bit sort of straggly, it's sort of coming down. You can literally just tuck it inside the catch wires like that, and it will just continue to grow up vertically through the other catch wires as well. And you can do that all the way along. So that way you hold all this sort of foliage in a nice sort of vertical leaf wall position. The reason why we're doing that essentially is to keep all the foliage away from the fruit, which is hanging now, hopefully, from the main trellis line that we put in, or the fruiting line, whatever you'd like to call it. Now, we have got a few bunches of grapes forming, and someone very sensibly said is that don't you really sort of get rid of all the grapes until about year 3? And that is absolutely right, I think. That's a pretty sound advice, I think, anyway, except to say that some of these vines have been really vigorous in the last year or two, and they're already throwing up loads of bunches of grapes. Some, on the other hand, haven't been, and they sort of throw out sort of little vestigial type bunches of grapes, sort of weedy sort of things. I'd say, personally, on those ones, yes, snip those sort of weedy ones off and just let the plant develop into a nice, strong, vigorous plant. But if the plants like, if the vines like this one, for example, where the first year it grew really nice and thick up to the main trellis line, it branched off. We've got a really nice thick side vine here, and also on the other side. I'd say that this plant is strong enough to sort of get bunches of grapes, and I wouldn't say you necessarily need to pick those off. You might not get enough quantity to make anything sort of decent or any kind of volume as such, but as far as the vine is concerned, it's well established by now, and generally speaking, they only chuck out fruit if the vine thinks it's the right time to throw out fruit, as it were. So this one here is a really good example of one which is taken very nicely, and it's vigorous. It's got really healthy foliage and leaf wall above, and so I'm going to essentially keep these grapes growing, see if we can get anything from them this year, and next year this particular vine really should do us well, I think, in giving us lots of bunches of grapes. But talking about grapes, which are growing on a vine like this, we've now got our vertical leaf wall established, but the other important thing is to have a look at the leaves below. Now, in an ideal world, we don't want these type of leaves covering our grapes. We want these grapes exposed to the air and wind and sunshine. And the reason for that is that vines in particular are quite susceptible to mildew and other kind of moulds and things like that. And essentially, these grapes are fantastic at trapping moisture and keeping it there. So what we want to do is get rid of these lower leaves and keep these bunches of grapes exposed. Ideally, these should be hanging down. Let's see if we can get that one hanging down. So that you've got some breeze sort of wafting over them. You've also got the sunshine hitting them as well. And that will really, really help keep these vines from going mouldy, essentially. So we can do that with any bunches of grapes that we see. Just pull off any leaves that we think might be shielding them from the sunshine, and let's get as much sun on these grapes as possible. You can be a bit brutal with vines because they are such a vigorous plant. They really don't mind a little bit of pruning, in fact quite vigorous pruning, they just seem to come back stronger. So here we've got some grapes now exposed to the sunshine and the wind, and this will actually benefit us much, much better. We go along to the next one. You can imagine the rays of sun coming down, but you can barely see these grapes. So let's get rid of some more. Get the wind and air on. There we go, that's better. Oh, another one there. That's fine, let's just get those exposed like that. Now, someone once told me, and I have absolutely no doubt to disbelieve them at all, that a bunch of grapes needs about 12 leaves on the vine to produce enough sugar for those grapes to produce, enough sugar to make wine, as it were. As you can see, if you've got, say 1 bunch, 2 bunches, 3 bunches, again, these are newish vines, so they're not going to produce masses and masses of grapes at this stage. But we can see that this plant here will need 36 leaves in order to get as much sugar into these grapes as is necessary. Well, you can see we've got hundreds and hundreds of leaves on this plant, so it really doesn't matter if you snip off a few. The grapes are still going to ripen just as well. The only thing is that in Britain we just need a little bit more sunshine. This year, 2021, has been particularly poor for sunshine. We had a really good hot spell in July, but for the last month it's been, well, as you can see behind me, just a little bit grey, to be honest. So hopefully this next week or over the next month or so, we'll get a little bit more sunshine, but we'll see. Anyway, that's all I wanted to sort of talk about on this video, really. Just catch wires so that we can get a vertical leaf wall formed, and also exposing the grapes to the sunshine and, well, what sunshine we do have, and also the air and the wind, just to prevent mildew or other moulds forming on them. So there we go. That's probably it for this video. If you've liked it, then hit that like button and the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and you'll get updates on everything else that we do on our vineyard and everything else we do on our small holding here. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. Until the next video, bye for now.